Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance Simply Reds podcast. My name is Reuben, and as always, I'm joined by Louie. You all right, Louie?
Hello, Reuben. Yes, I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you doing?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. Currently in the middle of moving house. I've got lots and lots of boxes surrounding me. But I mean, what a week it's been, eh? 7 points. I mean, I'd say you can hardly complain, but we didn't get 9. But I think everyone would have taken those 7 points
Yeah,
before the beginning of the week.
absolutely. And in the spirit of the transfer window, you're up in sticks, you're moving, you're you're on your way.
Yeah.
You've handed in a transfer request to to your landlord. But yeah, a really positive 10 days or so. Well, yeah, 7-8 days. 3 good results, three clean sheets. Should probably have been 9 points, but we'll come on to that. And we've put some distance between us and the relegation zone, which is pretty important. If you look at, we've got some pretty tough games coming up in February, so it was important to have that little bit of breathing room to get some confidence into the players, and it feels a bit like a bit of a fresh start in terms of the mood around the club. That Barrow win did a lot of good for the general psyche of the club, the fans, probably the squad, and you can see it carried on into the next couple of games. It feels like a fresh start. We certainly needed to get a bit of momentum. Largely different squad now. The makeup of the matchday squad certainly is a lot different, and a lot's been made of that. And we'll obviously talk about the transfer window and everything. But yeah, it's a very different feeling to when we last recorded. Although I think our last podcast, we were probably cautiously we were probably aware that there was a lot of turnover, bringing in a lot of players, a lot of quality, that it might take a couple of games for it to get going. But there was that sort of mild optimism tempered by the fact that we were still deeply in a relegation fight, and we still are. We still have a lot of work to do. We still probably need, I would say, 7 wins, if I'm being conservative. But it's a lot easier to see where those wins are coming from now. After I think 3 clean sheets is the most important thing, and because that's obviously been a huge issue this season. I think we've possibly. I think we went into the Barrow game with maybe 2 clean sheets all season. Off the top of my head, maybe 3 at most. Should have done my research before we hit record, and we've kind of equaled that or more in the space of 3 games, which says a lot about kind of how the first half of the season went and our defensive problems. I mean, one of those clean sheets would have been Harrogate away, and then Bristol Rovers at home. I want to say we kept a clean sheet. Cheltenham at home, did we keep a clean? Honestly, it all blurs into what the first half of the season was blurred into one, just one long stream of missed chances and defensive errors. So it's nice to see that at least the defensive errors have been cut out. But to get back on track, I think the Barrow game, it was a pretty ugly game in pretty ugly conditions, wasn't it? It was not a game for the purists, not a game for the neutrals.
No, not at all.
Not a game that you'd probably pay money to see again, but decided by a bit of quality at the end. And it's, Taylor Richards, he's kind of threatened to do that in his few appearances so far last month. He's threatened to just beat his man, run at the defence and get a shot off. He did it at Barrow on his debut.
What a goal.
And he's been threatening to do this. And it was just the sort of quality that you kind of see that at League 2 level, and you think, okay, that's a bit different. You don't normally see the way he beats his man so easily. He drives inside at the defence, and the technique on the shot is incredible. That's that bit of quality that if you can start to produce it more consistently, you've got a player who should probably be playing top end League 1. Like that's the level of quality you're looking at there.
Yeah,
the question is his fitness and his consistency, and whether he can carry that into the rest of the season and beyond. But certainly it's just a quality goal. It's probably a bit of quality that we've been missing at times this season in those games where it's a bit tight, and we've just not quite had that at times. So it's invaluable to have someone who can just pull that out of nothing.
No, and I mean, it was a cracking goal, wasn't it? What one that probably is going to be up there for contender for goal of the season.
Yeah, definitely. We don't have many
Can't,
of
can't
those.
no, we do not. Cardiff came out of nowhere really. I mean, it's a pretty poor game. Definitely wasn't a proper Scott Lindsay kind of team.
No,
When I say team, as in style of play. Um, and before this game, we hadn't kept a clean sheet in 14 matches, and we hadn't won a match in 12 attempts. And so to come away, particularly Barrow, like in the back and beyond, it's probably one of the worst away games to have to like get to. It's a fair play to everyone who made that journey.
absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, Orsi was a bit unfortunate to have not scored
Yeah,
because I believe what he hit the post.
hit the post, and it's one of those where he does everything right. He creates a space for himself, sells the defender, and maybe a more confident Orsi, or just sometimes when you get that bit of luck when you're confident, when you're on a roll, everything goes in. He's obviously not got that goal for us yet. He'll probably be absolutely desperate. He'll probably be fuming that didn't go in. But it's one of those where on another day, if he's in form, that hits the inside of the post and goes in. We're 1-0 up. But and we'll talk about the other games as well. There's been a couple of occasions so far where you can see he's still got the quality that we know he has. He's just because he hasn't had a great time of it since leaving us. He's still got that ability to just create a yard of space for himself. His ability to bring the ball under control and just shift it onto his right foot and get a shot away is really. He hasn't lost that, and the goals will come for him. I'm pretty sure. I'm not seeing anything that makes me think, oh, blimey, there's we've been sold a dud here. I think he's definitely going to be getting goals. He's getting into the right positions. He's working hard, and that's all you can do as a striker. And you just hope one goes in.
Yeah, well, you do cut. Well, I at least worry that the longer he goes out scoring, the harder it's going to be for him to score.
Yeah, I mean,
Particularly as he hasn't really seen much of the back of the net since he left Crawley.
no,
And yeah, what I don't want to happen is for them fans to start to get on the back of him. But thankfully, I think because we are scoring goals from kind of all over the pitch at the moment, he's kind of biding himself a bit of time, really. But hopefully, he can find the back of the net kind of sooner rather than later.
yeah, I mean, he had a similar sort of chance in the Walsall game, jumping ahead a little bit, where again he's kind of made a bit of space for himself in the box. He's turned, he's got a shot off, and off the top of my head, I've watched the highlights once, but I need to go back and watch them again to be sure. But it gets blocked, it was one of those where it probably would have gone in. So again, he's getting into those positions. He's getting shots off. It's not as if he's looking like, yeah, you can see where the goals are going to come from, and he just needs one to go in. But I think you're right. The more he's obviously been brought in to score goals, we love him because he scores so many goals for us that season. So and he'll be putting. I mean, he's a striker. He'll be putting as much pressure on himself as anyone to score goals. And if the goals aren't coming from him, he is probably going to be sat there thinking, where's it going to come from? In a similar way to when we're on a bad run of form, we were all sat there thinking, well, where's this next win going to come from? And now we're going into games thinking, well, we'll have anybody at the moment. We'll take on anyone. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Barrow, an ugly game, and perhaps one where we got a little bit of luck that we've not had so far this season, alongside the bit of quality that we've not had. Reuben, I did want to ask, because early in the second half, Barrow had a goal, apparently controversially. I didn't think it was too controversial, but apparently controversially disallowed for offside. And for those of you who haven't caught the highlights, basically, Chapman parries a shot across goal. And there's two Barrow players following up. The guy, it was Isaac Fletcher who taps it in. He wasn't offside. He's definitely not offside. But the other player, and I can't remember his name, he was offside, and he runs towards the ball. He doesn't actually touch the ball, obviously, but he runs towards the ball. He makes a move to try and interfere with play, and the goal's ruled out for offside. And the Barrow players are fuming. I've heard a couple of well-respected EFL pundits say that it wasn't offside, and I mean they seem to be under the impression that the Barrow player didn't actually move, but he clearly does run towards the ball.
So it's Danny Rose.
Danny Rose, thank you. So they're under the impression that Danny Rose doesn't even try to play the ball, but he clearly does. Now, whether he actually interferes or affects the play, I think is a little bit of a grey area, and it's one of those where I'd be fuming if it was if it was the other way around, and say Orsi taps in and Darcy had been offside. But I think by the letter of the law,
Yeah,
and I think this is probably what you're going to say, it probably was offside.
yeah. I mean, based on all these refereeing decisions, I think we need a section called like VAR, Video Assistant Reuben.
Exactly, and that's coming from next week because we all know the standard refereeing. We've always got plenty to say, or at least I have.
So I think he was offside. He was getting involved with play, and from a kind of goalkeeping perspective, like probably about a third of um, Chapman's vision was Danny Rose, who was in an offside position. The ball comes across Danny Rose. I think it rebounds off the goalkeeper when Danny Rose was already in an offside position. And so, yeah, so he's got an advantage by being in an offside. So to me, it was offside there. But again, like you're always gonna, it's always gonna picture it going your way when it's your team that are the ones that are kind of at the losing end of it.
Yeah,
Um, and and yeah, but I mean, this is the thing about this whole season is whilst some decisions do go your way, others won't. But kind of over the course of 46 games or however many games there are throughout the season, there it kind of averages itself out across the whole season.
yeah. I think we like to think it averages itself out, and I think the way you explained it there is probably quite instructive of why it was the correct decision. He's in the goalkeeper's eye line. He makes a move for the ball. Does it matter that he doesn't touch the ball? It's not. He can still be interfering in play without touching the ball. We all know that. So I can see why it was given, and I think it was. If I was in neutral, I'd probably think it was the right decision. But if I was a Barrow fan, I'd be a bit like, "Come on." It's one of those where it feels like everything's going against you. But I mean,
Yeah,
other than the goal and the offside goal and Scott Lindsay's Mourinho-esque sprint down to the fans to celebrate the goal, not a whole lot to talk about from that game. It was a pretty
no, it
ugly
wasn't
game,
the most exciting of games
a
ever.
gritty performance, a
Um,
clean sheet, and I think
but
not one that we were going to look. I mean, I think if you're one of the was it 118? I want to say
something like that.
if you're absolute troopers, 118 of you who made the 636-mile round trip, I believe it is. You're probably looking back on that at the end of the season very, very fondly. A late winner, and to be fair, a late winner away from home, they are always going to. You'll remember that for a long, long time. It's one of those that always stands out. But not the most memorable game in terms of quality or the 88 or so minutes before the goal. So just a very important 3 points, and one that I think we'll just, yeah, I think a performance that Scott would probably want to move on from. He hinted as much after the game that he was delighted with the 3 points and the clean sheet and the sort of the character shown, but probably would have wanted to see a bit more quality on the ball. It wasn't a sort of Scott Lindsay performance, was it? As he's
No,
like
it
to say,
wasn't. It wasn't.
wasn't the sort of performance where you go, cool, we were good. Like we are a serious team. It's one of those where you go, we've not got away with it, but we've ground out a win. And sometimes in the position we're in, you need to do that. So no one's complaining, and yeah, a, a much needed boost in terms of the win and the clean sheet.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the way we played against Barrow is a bit of quite a contrast to the way we then played against
Absolutely.
our next match. Walsall, nice Tuesday night trip up to Birmingham area. I mean, it wasn't too bad for me. Literally left the house and was there sitting in the stadium for an hour and a half. So I can hardly
Now,
complain.
one of your local ones, I suppose, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. But I mean, what a
It
performance!
was,
Um,
yeah,
Everyone put in a shift. We just couldn't really get the ball in the back of the net, despite about we had 22 shots according to FootMob.
22 shots. I think 14 of them were on target off the top of my head. Not got football open, so you'll have to fact check me on that. But it was, I'll go as far as to say it was our best performance of the season. Certainly our most complete performance of the
Yeah,
season. There was a period early in the second half where for about 10 minutes or so, Walsall did put a bit of pressure on us, and they did have a chance or two. And you kind of thought, oh God, are we doing that thing again? Well, we've played really well in the first half. We haven't taken our chances, and then we're just going to be punished. But the team, we kind of rode out that little 10-minute period, and we were absolutely sensational after that. We pretty much from minute 1 to minute 90, it was a really, really good performance. Again, a bit of a theme this season. We've said it so many times. We haven't taken our chances. Keepers pulled off some incredible saves. But I think it's certainly the most, from the first minute to the last, the most complete performance. I haven't seen us do that too many times this season, where we have just been comfortably the better team, not just for 45 minutes or an hour, but for pretty much 90 minutes. It was and against I know Walsall fans, if they somehow are listening to this, won't agree with me, but because they seem to be quite disillusioned with the style of play and the way their season's going. But they're a team in the playoffs at the moment, possibly a bit of a false position.
They were fifth when we played them.
Going into the game they were fifth, so to play as well as we did for 90 minutes against away at a team in the playoffs, regardless of how well they actually are playing or how their fans perceive them, it was outstanding. It was an outstanding effort. Just not the technical quality. The way what stood out to me is that when we were playing through the lines, and passes were actually sticking to players. We could play it into Ronan Darcy, and the pass would stick. And it's something we tried to do it before this season, and we just haven't quite been able to have that level of technical control and get us up the pitch. And it's probably put us under a lot of pressure. Also, the other thing that stood out to me was every time the ball came back to our back three, they were so aggressive in winning it. They were first to every ball. They were winning pretty much every duel, it felt like, and the ball just kept going back at Walsall. And if it broke in midfield, Williams and Anderson were. I mean, it was a masterclass in midfield from both of them in terms of how they just won everything. They got the ball forward. They controlled the game. It was. I was genuinely. I've not been that impressed with a Crawley performance in a long, long time. And so, particularly from those two, Williams and Anderson. And really good to see Anderson starting and playing at that level, considering he had a really nasty injury that we didn't know when he'd be back from. So really pleased for him.
Yeah,
Really
it's interesting you say that. So I wasn't actually that impressed by Williams.
Interesting.
I was quite concerned that there were a few kind of passes, a few times where the ball would just get taken off him, or he would have a pass that wouldn't always be accurate. And I was like, have we kind of seen the best of Jay Williams already? But I mean, again, we'll talk about it in the next match about a huge contrast. But I personally think a huge contrast between him at the Walsall game and him at the Harrogate game.
Interesting.
But yeah, I wasn't that impressed by Williams.
I think, and I mean, he's not the cleanest passer of the ball at times. His best work is kind of winning the ball back and getting us going up the pitch. He's not necessarily someone he's not a Liam Kelly who's going to be, 95% pass completion, for example. But excuse me, he's I just think that particularly in the second half, late in the first half and then in the second half, there were a few times where he won challenges and he won the ball kind of when he had no right to. He like in terms of he shouldn't have had a chance to win it, and he did. And the amount of ground that he covered, it felt like maybe not on the ball, but certainly him and Anderson off the ball, and the work they did winning the ball back and keeping us, it really helped pin Walsall back, and it was a big reason why we were able to put so much pressure on them for 90 minutes. And unfortunately, that pressure didn't count for anything. We hit the bar. The keepers pulled off some incredible saves. McCurdy's gone close at the end.
Darcy as well had the shot tipped over.
Darcy. It was a very cheeky effort. That
it was.
Sort of a kind of I don't know if you'd call it a lob or a chip. It was just sort of like a stabbed chip, dink, lob, whatever you want to call it. And the keepers made a great save. There was, I think, Bajrami headed wide towards the end, or was it Williams? One of the two. Just one of those where we I don't think we'll regret it at the end of the season, but one of those where we look back and think, we should have won that. And not the first time we played Walsall this season and come away thinking we should have won. But a really positive performance.
But again, defensively though, spot
Yeah,
on.
and I think at this point we need to give a word to Theo Vassell because
Yeah,
I know he's been. I mean, pretty much every Crawley fan who I've seen on Twitter and on even at games just cannot believe we managed to get him on a free. There's no way that we didn't pay a penny for this man because he's just been a colossus. He just loves defending. It's quite refreshing to just have someone in the heart of defence who you just feel safe. I feel safe with him at the back. He's just on the end of everything. His positioning is great. He's better on the ball than I expected. I think I said that when we last recorded, but he's a bit better on the ball than I expected. His passing's pretty clean. He's clearly just very experienced and a very calm head, and it feels like that him and Flint and it was Barker against Walsall. It feels like they work quite well together. It feels like they complement each other quite well, which is important. And yeah, just I can't speak highly enough of Vassell. I think he's a really important part of why we're not keeping clean sheets. We haven't kept these clean sheets by accident. I don't think.
yeah.
Well, certainly not back against Barrow and Walsall. They were two hard-earned clean sheets because we defended very well and we defended in a high line. We won every duel. Barrow we had to defend deep at times, but again everything was cleared. Didn't really give any chances away. So a lot of praise goes to Vassell and obviously Chapman as well. I think I want to talk about him more in the Harrogate game because I think he had probably a bit more to do there.
Let's go on
But
to
yeah,
Harrogate game then. I mean, 2-0 at home. Good overall performance. We had 58% possession, 14 shots compared to their 13, and was a pretty solid performance by us, really.
yeah, it was. I think it was a mixed performance. I think, and I don't think 2-0 flattered us because we probably were the better team. But I think there was a period for the first half, was second half, up until from about 45 to 65, 70 minutes. I was quite concerned by how many opportunities not Barrow, but how many opportunities Harrogate were getting. Chapman had to pull off 2 or 3 good saves. It wasn't I yeah, I think there was a period in that game where we weren't hugely convincing, but then last 20 minutes was a big improvement and we ended up seeing out the game and obviously killing off the game with that second goal. I wonder if it was a bit of a tired performance because the third game in the space of a week, and often you do find that, especially as it was, I think an unchanged team from the Walsall game, so perhaps that wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
Which, with the size of the squad we've got, you think we could afford to rotate a little bit, even if it's just 3 players, just to freshen things up. But again, we played so well against Walsall. Kind of understand why we go with the same team. Excuse me. But yeah, I think Max Anderson, again, really pleased for him after the injury he got earlier this season. Took his goal really well, really good finish, and again, just a little bit of quality that we haven't always had in front of goal this season. I know he's a kind of a deeper midfielder for us, but just a bit of composure and a bit of quality to volley it under the keeper. And first half, I think we were probably quite comfortable. And yeah, Chapman in goal has to make 1 or 2 saves from what I remember. His distribution's good. He looks very comfortable on the ball. He looks really,
He does.
but I think importantly, his kind of command of the area and the way he deals with crosses and his communication with defence is possibly a bit of an upgrade on Harvey Davies, and perhaps we'll talk about Harvey a bit later. But just I think Chapman's a really assured presence in front of goal. He's very cross comes in, and you think, oh, he's going to catch it. The ball comes through, and you don't worry about him making the wrong decision or his concentration or anything like that. It's very reassuring. So yeah, really really pleased that we've got him in goal. And I was someone who didn't. I thought Harvey Davies had improved a lot over the season, but we'll maybe talk about that in a bit. Yeah, second half, I don't think we were great. Harrogate will probably feel a little bit hard done by that they didn't get an equaliser at some point because Chapman's made a few good saves. They've put a fair bit of pressure on us, but we made some subs, and for the last 20 or so minutes, I thought we were very comfortable and we looked a lot better. We had McCurdy who was willing to run in behind and make things happen, and thought he played well without getting his rewards. we looked really threatening that last period, and perhaps it's as Walsall kind of came forward, it opened up, and we had the space to get in behind. But yeah, just a really, really important result, especially just to put that kind of distance between us and Harrogate, open up a bit of. I mean, we're up to 19th now.
Yeah, so we're currently
20.
20th.
Sorry, Bristol Rovers won last night.
Six,
Yeah,
six,
sorry.
6 points from 23rd Newport, but Newport have a game in hand. Harrogate have played 30, we've played 29. They're on 18 compared to our 26. But pretty much all teams apart from Harrogate below us have got games in hand. So potentially 20th at the moment is probably a bit of a false position. But we'll probably be more like 21st, 22nd,
Yeah.
once all the game hands are played.
I mean, we're assuming that
But
teams below us will
it's
win,
really good.
and the beauty of it is,
That is true.
they're down the bottom for the reason because they're not winning many games. So yeah, I mean, look at Harrogate last night. That was a game in hand on us, and they lost. Bristol Rovers, obviously, you expect Bristol Rovers to be okay under Steve Evans. They'll probably pull away in a similar situation to us, where you kind of think, yeah, they'll kind of sort themselves out. They'll get their act together. I'm. It's when you put it like that, we Newport got a game in hand on us. They are only 6 points behind us, and if they did win that game in hand, we've obviously still got to play them as well around Easter, and we do. Yeah, the work's not done yet. We probably still need another 7
No.
wins, like I said, but I think we've got
I'm
some
more
really solid
importantly,
foundations to go on and get those results now.
we're only 23 points from playoffs.
Well, exactly, and if we, I think we can probably safely forget about that. But I mean, if you take the last 5 games, it's possibly playoff form. I know that includes a couple of result defeats, but 7 points from 5, over a period of 5 games, take that over a season. That's not a shabby points total. But yeah, I think we can probably forget about that for now. But I think the important thing is just get some momentum, get the feel good factor back around the club. I think there's a danger of we've got some good results, so we're going to be fine. I don't want to. I think that we can't afford to be too complacent because we've had a couple of other periods earlier this season where we've gone 4 games unbeaten. We've got some good results, scored goals. It looks like we might have sorted out some of the problems, and then we go on a run of 12 without a win. So I'm not gonna breathe until we're pretty much mathematically done. But it's looking a lot rosier than it did. 7 points from 3 games is going to is healthy in any situation. But when you're in a relegation fight, that does make a huge difference. Especially one of those teams is Harrogate, and so we've opened up that gap. They're not picking up results. Newport kind of look a little bit better, but they're not really picking up many points either. So it's okay. I think best case scenario, we just look up the table, see how far we can get. If we can climb into 15th or 16th, that would mean we've had a really, really good final 15 games or so. So yeah, I think a lot to be positive about. I think across the 3 games that we just talked about, one thing I keep thinking is, particularly with the Walsall game where we didn't take our chances, there's a couple of trends that we've seen this season where I kind of think, okay, we've seen it before, and it's they're not taking our chances. A couple, it wasn't a great performance against Barrow, and then Harrogate, we were possibly a little bit fortunate to have kept a clean sheet, but I think the difference is that we've probably got a bit more quality at the back now. We look like we have a much more settled back line, and we've probably got that bit of quality up top in terms of
100%.
Darcy, Orsey, Lolos when he's back from suspension. Probably got that little bit extra quality to kind of get us out of those, or get something out of those games where it's been a bit tight. Whereas earlier in the season we had games where we were on top and we were the better team, but we just didn't make it count. I think what's going to probably see us over the line in terms of staying up is we've got that bit of quality now to, when it's quite a tight game, we'll nick a result, or when we're well on top, we should win. Because it didn't happen against Walsall, which is you wouldn't ordinarily be concerned about. But there's part of me that thinks, how I guess what I'm getting is how much has changed compared to what
Yeah,
we saw
yeah.
in the first half or
And
the first stage of the season.
you mentioned Lolos. Where do you see him coming in?
Hmm.
Like, can you see him actually starting the game against Crew?
I think so. I think he has to start. He's just genuinely that good. Um, you know,
Who thought though? We got 12 players.
um, I mean, it feels like we've been playing with 10 men a lot of the season at certain points. So perhaps we can get away with 12. I would say I'd like to see a front three of, or kind of, I'd like to see him and Darcy playing off of Orsi. I think that's
So you take Richards out.
yeah, and I know it feels harsh. I think Richards. I mean, he had a really good game against Walsall. Obviously, won us the game against Barrett, and it probably sounds a little bit harsh, but I mean, it's a nice problem to have. You know, there's
Yeah, it
possibly
is.
Richards. I think he's going to be excellent off the bench. Certainly, he's got that bit of quality, and he's got the ability to drive at tired defenders. I'd love to see that. I think Lawless has got so much quality that you kind of he's and perhaps it doesn't work out for him this season. He doesn't rediscover that form that he had with us, but he has got so much quality that I think at this level, particularly in the situation we're in, he has to be an automatic starter. There isn't. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Lawless. I really rate him as one of the. I rate him as probably our best player in that promotion season towards the end, certainly. So maybe I'm not the most kind of neutral judge on him because I just think he's a brilliant player. But I think I don't think there's in terms of the bottom half of League Two, or certainly the bottom 6 or 7. I don't think there's very many better players than him at all, if any. I think he's possibly the best player at this end of League Two, and if he's given a chance to show it, he'll win us games on his own, and he'll be he has to start for that reason for me. But it's
Yeah,
probably harsh. I mean, someone's gonna have to miss out. We've got what 30. Is it 31 players? I've lost track, to be honest. We do need a full
yeah.
podcast just about the transfer window, don't we? Really?
Yeah, so before we jump into transfers, just very quickly announcing the winner of the January Reds rollover draw. So this is a few kind of episodes late, but well done, Jack Standen, who is the winner. And then kind of enjoying second place is Paul Taylor Burr and Nick Jode. So congratulations to all of those winners. If you
Congratulations,
fancy
everybody.
signing up, you can do so on the CTSA website. So, transfers.
Transfers.
13 transfers in a January transfer window. It's quite something.
It's dramatic, isn't it? But almost had
Yeah.
to be done in a way. But I think we spoke a lot kind of halfway through the window about the players coming in and what a dramatic sort of or drastic turnover it was in terms of the squad. I think it's added some quality at the bottom of the pitch with Theo Vassell in particular. Odemayo also
Yeah.
looks pretty promising from what we've seen of him as well. So I think there's
100%.
that quality that gives us just that bit of kind of security at the back. That was much needed, and then just a bit of quality up top with Lolos and Orsi. We all know what they can do. Taylor Richards looks like he's got that. He can pull something out the bag, and then Ronan Darcy as well, versatile, can probably plays his best football off the striker, but can
So,
play a bit deeper as well if we need him to.
after our last podcast, kind of going in order, Ren Darcy was officially announced. No, I think in the last podcast we mentioned it
I
might be
think it's a pretty
happening.
poorly kept secret at that point. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. And I think lots of people were pleased to see him back. And yeah, I mean, I know his, I think, girlfriend and mum were at the game at Walsall, and they seemed happy to be there, which is always nice. And also Ren Darcy's dog as well. He's just a fluff ball.
yeah. Is he on? Yeah, is he also on loan to us? They didn't really.
Who the dog?
Yeah,
Yeah, he might be playing up front.
yeah. It could be a good partnership.
It's nice to say.
Yeah, but good to press the defenders in the last 5 minutes of the game, see it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Obviously, yeah. Ronan's come in. We've also signed.
So after that,
Who have we signed?
after
Honestly,
Darcy,
I've lost track. I've genuinely lost track.
so after Darcy, Shamanga was announced to have left. Again, probably came as no surprise, although he has now scored 3 goals for Barnet since
Yeah,
signing for them. And then Jacob Chapman, the Australian, joins on loan from Huddersfield. It's quite interesting because Huddersfield let us loan him, but they have just signed Nick Treves, I want to say, the goalkeeper from
Newport, yeah,
Newport.
yeah, a bit of a weird one that. But obviously helps us because I think Newport fans thought quite highly of him, so maybe it's done
Yeah.
us a favour. Huddersfield, after pretty much confirming our relegation last season when they smashed us 5-1 and ended Rob Elliott's tenure, maybe they felt bad for us and they're like, right, we'll do you a favour, we'll give you a great keeper on loan and we'll take keeper off your relegation rivals. But yeah, I think we're at a point where the outgoings over the last week or so, or towards the end of the window rather, we're probably a bit more interested in who we bring in. We've done so much business that I think people are a bit like, well, there's no one really to bring in. Like we also signed, forgive me, because he's not on.
So then, moving on then, although just quickly on Jacob Chapman, Huddersfield fans seem gutted to see him go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
And he even said he could be championship quality.
and you can see why he just like we said, like I said earlier, he looks very assured. Looks like a really good shot stopper. Just a very good all round goalkeeper who we probably shouldn't be at this level. Obviously, only 3 games in, so you don't want to cast too much judgment, but it's very prominent. 3 clean sheets in a row doesn't necessarily happen by accident.
No, not at all.
Part of that
Not
is
at
down
all.
to some of the saves he made against Harrogate. That was a very very good performance from him. We
Yeah,
signed Justin Ferizaj on a free as well.
we
Young
did. We
Irish
did. Although
midfielder.
in between that, Tola Schwanmi left, go back to America. I think back to his old team. Again, Carl Kane was no surprise. Was probably one of people's top of the list as players that probably be leaving Crawley during this window. And yeah, nobody really quite knows what happened to him kind of this season,
Yeah,
just because he hasn't really been spotted.
I think he's had one
I
sub
thought it
appearance
might
off the
be,
bench. That's probably it.
yeah, I think so. But yeah, since Scott had come in, he hasn't really played at all. And I think people were kind of gutted he never really got to have that opportunity. So he went, and then, as you said, Justin Farage joins, becoming Crawley's 13th January signing. I think it was rumoured that he signed for Crawley about 2 weeks prior by the Irish Express or something like that. And he seems like a promising youngster. I can't really see him kind of playing.
Yeah,
I should imagine he might go out on loan somewhere.
yeah. It's an interesting one. I'll confess, know nothing about it. Don't know what his style of play is. Don't know, how highly rated he is. But it's interesting. How much of a looking is he going to get? Because I mean, Scott Lindsay at this point is clearly addicted to signing midfielders. That man cannot be stopped. He will get his fix of getting midfielders to sign on the dotted line because just in this window alone, we've obviously signed Louis Copley from Arsenal, Clyde Lawless, Ronan Darcy, and Justin Ferizaj. That's an average of 1 midfielder a week. So imagine if the transfer window was like open the whole season, he'd be signing like 40 odd midfielders just because he can. But yeah, a promising young player, probably not going to feature. I mean, it's such a bloated squad in midfield. You kind of touched on it just now when talking about Lawless, but it's interesting to see where these players fit in. Louis Copley's missed a couple of games with a knock. So where does he come back in? Because Williams and Anderson played really well the last couple of games. Ronan Darcy's played well the last couple of games. Clyde Lawless, we spoke about him. You obviously got Reece Brown. What happens to him? Probably, be surprised if he gets a look in. And then obviously the likes of McCurdy as well, who has played up front. He's played off the striker. So again, kind of, he's come off the bench, and I imagine he'll play a big part for the rest of the season, whether that's starting or off the bench. But just really, it's probably a nice headache to have in terms of the options we've got and the kind of quality that we've got in those positions. But Taylor Richards as well. So
Yeah, it feels like a proper football manager thing, doesn't it? Just signing all the players.
So sorry, I think that's 5 midfielders we signed in the window. So that it's even more midfielders that we'll be signing.
One midfielder that did leave though is Gavin Houlihan. He went back to Hartlepool, I want to say.
Yes, on a freezer Hartlepool, and probably no
Um,
surprise there. Someone who'd had opportunities this season, but just hadn't looked up to the level. He hadn't taken them, and a good guy with probably a lot of technical quality to offer. But I always felt like physically he just seems a little bit off the pace of this level of football, which isn't necessarily a criticism of him because it's not something that you can help. He's in the toward the back end of his career. It's not all. It happens. It happens after a long career in football. So wish him well. He never.
yeah,
He always seemed like he wanted to do well. He wanted to put in every bit of effort. He cared. I always got the impression he was from last season. He was one of the few that really cared and really was probably invested more so than some other players. So
yeah. But I
yeah,
mean, what I think he did bring there was experience to the dressing room because I think the squad was pretty young, but I think a lot of the transfers we made this window have had to experience. So actually, even though he wasn't playing, he was probably quite useful at the beginning of the season. But kind of now he got that experience, kind of makes sense to kind of send him back to a place where he feels more at home.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I quite liked him, but I know reading kind of some of the comments when he got was when it was announced that he was leaving, people didn't seem too upset.
no,
Um,
no. I think it's
but,
probably the
but
right move for everybody involved. Um,
yeah,
Similar
but
to
that wasn't the end of people
no,
going. Harvey Davis then got recalled by Liverpool, and just keeping on the loans being of people being recalled. Keem Dixon as well.
yeah, both quite ones that didn't work out for different reasons. I think. I mean, Harvey Davies obviously started the season quite shaky. Didn't really look like a League Two goalkeeper. Was dropped for Jojo Wallacott, who again didn't really do a lot wrong, but I think he was dropped after the Bromley defeat at the start of December, fairly or unfairly. But then I thought when Davies came back in, I thought he'd improved a lot. His shot stop. I mean, he got a lot of criticism and quite a bit of stick, which I felt some of it was pretty unfair and pretty uncalled for. I thought his shot stopping was exceptional at times, particularly before Chapman came in. Davies was the starting keeper, and his last few appearances, probably the last 6 or 7 of them, you could go back and find a save from each of those games where you're like, that's a bloody good save, and he's done really well there. And I think what let him down was probably wasn't quite as confident with the ball at his feet. He looked like he wanted to play the ball at his feet, and he could do, but he just wasn't quite as confident as assured with it as we've seen from Corey Dye or a couple of other keepers that we've had recently. And his command of the box probably wasn't there. It always felt like if a ball came in, we were liable to concede. And it's not always down to the keeper, but sometimes when a cross is swung in or a set piece is chucked in or whatever, you just want your keeper to come out and deal with it. And he never didn't always get the impression that he was comfortable doing that. And I'm not a goalkeeping expert, so someone who's got a better eye on goalkeepers would probably quite possibly tell me different. I'm happy to stand corrected, but always got the impression that it just wasn't like a. Sometimes you want your keepers to just dominate the box in a way that when we had Corey Dye, if a cross came in, you knew he was going to get it. You just knew. I mean, helps that he's about 7'10", but he was just such a commanding presence in the box. We probably missed that last season and this season. So really pleased with kind of the business that we've done overall. I think some of those changes were probably necessary, and they've given us a bit more quality and a bit of
Yeah,
depth
they
as
were,
well.
they were. But I mean, that's not the end.
No, no,
Jack Rose left by mutual consent, and I mean, I've always quite liked Jack Rose, and I thought he was quite a good player. I mean, he wasn't going to be the next Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think sometimes when you're 1 or 2 nil down in the 80th minute, he's actually quite a good player to come on because he's willing to shoot, and Jack Rose scores goals.
yeah, he
Just not be the checker trade Papa
yeah,
John's virtue trophy.
all in the League Cup on occasion.
Yeah,
Yeah, I quite liked Rolls. I think the fairest assessment of him is that I think he's quite a specific player. You need him playing a certain role. He always struggled when he played deeper in midfield because I don't think that played to his strengths. But when you when he was playing off the striker, when he's playing further up, he could kind of get into positions where, like you say, he could get a shot off, or he could get a pass off or a cross, he looked a lot more comfortable there, and that's where he had his best performances. And I mean, he will go down as someone who scored in a playoff semi-final for Crawley. And I
Yeah.
mean, to be fair, I was about to say there's not many players that can say that, but there's actually quite a few as it happened. But
Quite a few now play for
yeah,
Crawley.
exactly. So yeah, I wish him well because I think he could probably feel a little bit not hard done by. He had a really good attitude, always gave 100%, and again he was another one who I think really looked like he cared about the club and wanted to do well. But I think a move into a sort of a mid-table or top half National League team would do him wonders because he needs regular football. He's not that young anymore. I think he's probably 26. I want to say.
Basically old.
Yeah, which is I say that someone who's 28 next month, so it's I don't say that lightly. He needs regular
Get his
football.
pension
Yeah,
soon.
exactly. He needs football. He needs to go somewhere where he's playing in a team that suits him in a role that suits him. Just wherever he goes next, I hope they get him just playing for the striker, let him get shots off, let him make runs into the box and link up with players because that's where he's at his best and that's where he's always looking more comfortable. I think he goes with everyone's best wishes. Always just a great person who had a lot of time for the fans and just probably deserves to be playing football at I think National League level,
Yeah,
get him
100%. I
playing
mean,
regularly.
but he went on loan to Gateshead last season, played 12, scored 3 goals. So I think he can obviously perform. Whether he will go back to Gateshead, conscious of Rob Elliott, who I don't think we've spoken about recently,
No,
is now back as manager at Gateshead. How the merry football manager merry-go-round goes round,
yeah,
though.
I think
Um,
it's interesting. Just very quickly on that because from what I'd heard, he was pretty done with football management after his spell at Crawley. Perhaps, and that doesn't surprise me. It didn't really go very well for him, and I think in that if you're a manager in those situations, you get a lot of abuse, and it's your personally, it's not just your professional life that you're really struggling with. It can be quite personal as well. Some of the abuse. So I'm not surprised, and also given the way things were at the club, probably didn't. I wouldn't be surprised if he became quite disillusioned with football management, but I hope he goes and keeps Gateshead up and does a good job there because he's a good guy, and I think there's a really good manager there in the right circumstances. Despite what some Crawley fans might think about him and how our view of him is probably quite distorted by the fact he didn't go very well in his few months in charge. But yeah, I think Rolls going to Gateshead playing under Rebellion and I mean, yeah, like you say, he had a very good loan spell there last season. Was he was flying. He was scoring goals. They were winning games. He
yeah,
was
he was. He
the fans
was.
loved him. So it's always one of those where he's probably. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up back there. Probably a
Yeah,
good place for him to go,
and
or a team
and
higher
and,
up the table.
and speaking of Gateshead, Ben Radcliffe has gone on loan to Gateshead.
Yeah, and I think this
So
is gone.
he's got an option to be recalled, which I noticed.
Interesting.
Because actually, we probably don't have that many defenders,
No,
really.
no, it's
Because what we've got, and I was quite surprised to see that we've been able to keep both Barker and Flint. I thought one of them might have gone this window.
wasn't really much talk
Um,
about them leaving, was there?
Not at all,
No.
not at all. But I mean, what we've got: Flint, Vassell, Barker, Odemayo,
Conroy.
Conroy. That's true. Although there's rumours that he's cleared his locker,
Yeah, I mean,
so can't really see him
he
ever
was
playing
in.
for Crawley again.
No, it's an interesting one. And also Scott Malone, if he still exists.
Yeah,
Obviously, got injury problems, but he's someone who can fill in at wing back or a centre back. But yeah, I think for Radcliffe, I think it's unlikely, but I do sincerely hope he's in Scott's plans for next season because I think there's an unbelievable defender in there. He's young, he's got a really high ceiling. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's a League One defender, or perhaps Championship's probably overstating it a little bit. But I think there's a League One defender in there. He didn't look out of place in League One last season, coming into a really difficult situation from the National League, coming into a team that wasn't winning many games and was leaking goals. He never looks out of place when he did play. He's good in the air. He's quick. He's decent on the ball. He's just like, again, somebody who loves defending. There was that. I think it
100%.
was Scott's first game back last season. It was Bristol Rovers 1-0 win. He started Radcliffe. Yeah, and that's an odd one. He did trust Radcliffe at the end of last season. He did play him quite a bit. So it's kind of odd. I don't really know what's happened there. But and there's a clip that went around after the game. I think Radcliffe got booked for one of the best, most perfect slide tackles you'll ever see. It's a crunching slide tackle, but it was brilliant. And so he's clearly someone he relishes defending. He's got a lot to learn. I think he's still very young for a defender, but I'm not surprised that he's gone, because he's not had many minutes this season. Started one league game, but it's a shame because I think he's probably been mishandled a little bit. And again, he's someone who deserves to be playing football. Could probably be playing League Two football for us right now. I don't understand why he hasn't played more this season, but we'll probably never know.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be, because I feel like with managers and with Scott in particular, you're either someone he rates and you're in his plans, or you're just out of favour. Which a lot of managers are like that, so it's not criticism. Um, but yeah, I think I'd be surprised to see him here next season, but I hope he is, and I hope he has a big part to play. Maybe
Yeah.
if stranger things have happened. Just come back onto Conroy,
The,
because it's interesting. You said, because Scott's post-match comments after Harrogate, I thought were actually quite revealing, without, I think, accidentally quite revealing. He hinted very much that Jay was now not just standing in as captain, but the club captain. He didn't say it outright, but what he said very much could be inferred as saying that, which kind of lends a bit to the theory that Conroy is on his way out for one reason or another.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true. And I mean, I think considering he hasn't played the last three games and we've kept clean sheets in the last three games, probably for me it's the case of I didn't think Conway was that bad of a defender. Um, but I think case of now you kind of not playing him, you kind of then notice even more clearly what we'd be missing. And I don't think people were particularly like blown away by Vassell signing for
No,
us, but actually probably been the perfect replacement, really.
yeah, you're going to struggle to get better value for money in January than signing someone who's come in with that level of experience and quality on a free and put in the level of performance that he has.
100%.
Yeah, I think with Conroy, it's probably his relationship with a lot of the fans. I won't say it's all the fans, because there are some people who, for one reason or another, didn't he hadn't. Yeah, where am I going with this? His relationship with the fans is obviously broken down. The Bromley game was probably a tipping point. But probably a lot of fans who still would have wanted him to carry on as captain and carry on starting games, or who at least wouldn't have had a problem with it. But I think, I mean, he played at Barnet, and I actually thought Conroy played quite well at Barnet. And I think that was his last appearance for us. I don't think he's played since.
Yeah, I think you're.
Off the top of my head,
Do you play in Notts County?
no, no. I don't think. I certainly. I've got a feeling he's. I'm gonna have to fact check this. So while I do, I'll keep talking. Yeah, but I think that relationship had definitely broken down with the fans. He probably didn't want to be here anymore. I think, and he didn't look like he wanted to be here. That Bromley game, certainly, when he was goading the fans, probably the best way to put it.
The last game was Cheltenham.
Chatting away. So he hasn't played a home game
Um,
since Bromley, and I think there's
And, and I mean, fair play to Scott Lindsay as well. Like he obviously had a good relationship with Dion, and we know from the transfers that Scott has done at both MK and at Crawley. Like when he finds a player, he trusts
yeah,
them, and so to be able to kind of make that call and be like, "You're not playing," which we don't know whether that's been properly the case, but yeah, it's taken Scott to fairly brave about it, and yeah, we probably won't be able to see Conroy again. No doubt he'll probably head on loan along with probably a few other Crawley players to somewhere like Sutton United or Eastbourne or somewhere kind of South London, Sussex direction.
Yeah, I think we possibly spoke about this on the last podcast. We certainly may have spoken about it after we recorded or before. It is interesting to see where he'd go. I don't know whether another League Two team would pick him up. I don't know, and where he'd want to go. You know, he's obviously local to the area. Whether he'd want to, you know, whether he'd be happy to move up north somewhere, or whether he'd go to a top end National League club, sort of based nearby. I don't know. It's an interesting one, but yeah, I think we've probably, yeah, and especially after signing was it a 3-year contract in the summer? I think
Yeah, it was.
it's kind of, I don't think anyone would have seen it going this way. I mean, I probably excuse me, I probably wouldn't have signed him to new contracts. I probably would have had a clean break because I think there were flashpoints last season. I think possibly Leighton Orient away, where he argued with fans. And there might have been another incident as well. There's been a couple of incidents this season. Bromley away, I think something similar happened, and then Bromley at home, obviously, where it just became pretty toxic at that point, pretty untenable. So
It did, yeah, yeah. But this Saturday, we play Crew at Crawley. Remember, it's a 12:31 kickoff.
So you got an extra minute to get in.
And yes. Well, that's if you remember. It's a 12:30
Yeah,
kickoff.
don't do what.
No doubt there'll be some Crawley fans that turn up at 3 o'clock when we're of course celebrating in the Reds bar already.
Yeah, because we've
What's the score? I think Luke's done similar.
I was about to say, don't do what a former member of the podcast. I say former. He's just not been on for a while. Don't do what Luke did. It was a game. I think it was Reading at home last season.
I think it was. Yeah.
12:30. But yeah, I think that's a game where Crew are a bit of a strange one. They're quite good, but also the league table wouldn't necessarily reflect that. So it's difficult to know what to make of them. They obviously beat us at their place earlier in the season. Played quite well. We could have nicked a point, but we probably didn't deserve it. So very interested to see how we approach the game, because it is. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the table now. They're in 10th, which doesn't scream an exceptional team, but they're only 5 points off the playoffs, and it is quite congested. That sort of MK Dons through to Colchester there's only 9 points between them, and that's covering 7 positions. So it's they're a team that I think if we don't turn up, they'll probably turn us over. But I feel like they're clearly capable of dropping points in the position. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the position they're in. And we're probably a better team than we were when we played them the first time around. So
yeah. I think it's going to be a big game.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Crawley fans will be up for it. They've still kind of got a new kind of player bounce / old players returning bounce. So hopefully we can get a good atmosphere, and hopefully we can get the 3 points.
Absolutely, yeah. One reason to be optimistic. Only one team in the top half has conceded more goals than Crew, which is Chesterfield. Wow. But so yeah, they're obviously still a good team. They scored 46 goals this season, so they're not too many teams have scored more than that. Only MK Dons, Swindon, and Bromley have scored more goals than them. It looks like. Just a quick scan of the table. So yeah, hopefully there's goals. Hopefully goals in the back of their net, because I don't think I could deal with like another 4-3. We haven't had any of those games this season. We had enough of them last year, but they're there to be got. I think is what I'm getting at. And but at the same time, I think they can absolutely cause us problems. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's quite a 2-all or a 3-2 sort of game. I feel like it'd be one of those.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully we'll see many of you there. If you do see either of us, do say hello, and come on you Reds.
Come on you Reds.